Welcome to the Town of Richmond special meeting of Water and Sewer Commission. It's February the 10th, 2025. Are there any additions, deletions, or actually, let me back up. Is there a public comment? Pretty much us.
Go Eagles.
Yeah, oh, yes. Additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
I don't think so.
No, okay, good. Well, all right. No purchase orders, no warrants to sign off on.
And we did the minutes last time.
We did the minutes last time. So moving right along, our Water Resources Department logo. Steve? Can you-
Unfortunately, Gabby can't, she was gonna zoom in.
Oh,
She's in Germany now, so
Oh, darn.
it's a little late there.
No, she's free. Oh, you mean Gary, not Aaron.
I made it from Germany.
all right, well,
But, she did want a little more guidance on what you guys, do you have the logos?
we do,
I sent them to Josh. She changed the one a little bit. And the other one, she was unclear on what you were looking for with that one.
the two,
Number two, that you picked number one and number three. Didn't like the middle one, so we were looking at those.
Well, I like the one with the big R. That was my.
Yeah,
I thought
but
it
you
was
guys
simple.
had some comments there that were unclear about what you wanted to do there.
I'm not sure there was,
Or was there nothing you wanted?
I was satisfied with number
I-
three, but
I
I
think-
can't speak for the rest of
I
the.
think
Okay.
it was good as is.
I think we liked that one.
The
The number
Because-
one that she changed a little bit, I think that it changed it in all the right ways.
Okay, all right, well, that's what.
Delicately put.
So those are the two that we will put to the town, I mean. Is that what we decided on doing?
Yeah, what is it?
I think that, well, I think the logical next step would be to share these links to these on front porch forum and wait to see which one offends the most people.
And then go
Well,
with
that's
the,
how you do it.
Well, so part of it might be timing, Morgan, if we do it at the annual meeting, make it an agenda item at the annual meeting, which is not far away.
right?
Right.
You could also ask the staff to vote on it because they're gonna be wearing it.
Yes,
Yeah, there you go.
We all, I mean. Mike and I like the big R. Brad likes the number one. With the field thing, so that's the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that one she changed a little.
Yeah, I like that better. It's less anatomically suggestive.
Okay,
And I could live with that easily. It's not.
yeah, I mean,
the one observation that I would make about anything that has more than one color is every time you get it printed, it will be more expensive.
yeah,
That's one thing we
But,
deal with
I
the
mean,
farm.
we already deal with
Two colors.
multiple.
Do you?
Yeah, and one thing we were kind of looking for is, we don't. Business cards, we get a lot of people looking for business, we don't have one right now.
That's because you're
Well, that-
celebrities.
Well, I mean. So that's one of the things that we were kind of looking for, with the logo, plus.
Yeah.
It's time, I mean,
Well, it's
Connie,
that one.
have you seen the logo? Do you have an opinion?
This is the first time that I'm seeing it. It looks kind of faded through my computer. Will the colors be brighter?
It's pretty bright on
Yeah,
the
so
screen.
the
It might
truck.
be, yeah,
Show her the door of the truck.
yeah.
Well,
and
that
show
was
her the
just-
R.
I know it's the mock-up, but I think that conveys better what it's gonna, how it would be.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
See, on
And-
the truck, it actually stands out very well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yep.
R as well.
They're going to the truck. That would look good.
Right there.
That one, right.
Yeah, I guess I'm just erring on the side of I like simplicity,
There's a
but
couple
I
more down,
could
right?
easily live with the first one.
Is that it or? is-
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
No, there should have been.
yeah, keep going.
She has it mocked up.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And that's actually the sign on the building. She superimposed it over.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
Well timed.
You know,
Huh?
I'll be honest, when I've seen it on the truck, I think I like the first one better now.
Mhm.
I like it better on this one better on like a shirt or a sign, but the first one looked better on a truck, so I think you should just ignore me entirely.
okay, Jay, well noted.
Well, I mean, I think the town decide or how, I mean, isn't that what we kind of thought at the,
I think that's a good idea, Bard, just to you put it up at the annual meeting and
The customers who may or may not show up. you know,
Right.
And then,
We usually get
It's
so
like town
many, so
meeting.
it'll be a big vote.
I think we put it out,
there's sarcasm in that.
No.
I think we share links to them on Front Porch Forum.
Yeah,
And one of them will, knowing our townspeople, they will both arouse comment.
Yeah.
But we'll see which one seems to annoy the most people and, because people are more likely to say which ones they don't like. in
Right.
my opinion.
And I think one of the,
Adjourn.
I think one of the things to be prepared for is how much is
Adjourn.
this gonna cost us, right? That'll be the first question.
Got 'em come on.
Why are we wasting money? So
well, we haven't wasted any.
that's right.
But we don't have fish anymore, so it's not accurate.
What?
We don't have fish anymore, so it's not accurate.
Yeah.
We don't have bees either. Did you know about? the
When
bees?
I looked at the second one, I'm on Facebook often and they'll bring up little things that you look at and say, did you see the lady first or did you see this first? That's kind of the feel I got as I'm looking at the R. It's like my brain feels like it's being tricked what I should be looking at first. Is it the R or is it the water drop?
The giant drop of water that's gonna obliterate the round church.
Mhm.
Which is symbolic.
Yeah.
Had you seen these before?
Yeah, no, these are great. I think they're
Well,
wonderful.
yeah, so I think, well, let's move on, but I think annual meeting would be a great place and then we could follow up on all the comments on Front Porch Forum.
And then we can order the t-shirts and sell them around town.
There you go.
This is a serious question.
Get them in before 4th of July?
Yeah.
I'm
Does-
looking forward to having a hat with the logo on it myself.
Our annual meeting will likely be after college is out for the year. Does she
yeah.
have access to help us with this if our annual meeting's like May 20th and she's
She-
out?
She's in Germany till she's doing a semester abroad.
Okay,
She'll be in Germany till July,
okay.
but she'll follow through.
Well, I just didn't like, if she was graduating in the beginning of
No,
May, we
no.
might need to figure it out before she.
But-
No,
But I think don't we have annual meeting in March?
May,
May.
May.
Sorry.
town meetings in March, water and
March.
sewer annual meetings in March.
Oh, you want to do it then? I was thinking of town meeting. No,
Well, they
I was
don't all
thinking
get
the actual
votes,
customers.
Yeah,
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 of annual meeting.
okay. Nobody ever attends our, that's right.
I know they do.
Well,
But
with
if
that
they-
attitude.
Yes, Morgan.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Now that I've just
You know what?
woken up and realized what.
Perfectly, that's fine.
you're still having a town meeting, right?
We are.
So we could put some logo, on a billboard or, a poster board or just have people there so as they come in, they could look at them and see what they thought,
And they
Yeah.
can put in a pre-order.
just a
Okay,
mock-up.
now that I'm up to speed on which meeting.
We're on the same page.
That can be on our agenda for next meeting. We'll all think about it for a week and make a decision.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, no further discussion on that. Moving along to our financials. So we've have our last 2 quarters of 2024, and then the first quarter of 2025. So let's start with, I guess, third quarter of 2024, right?
Do you want to follow down line by line with my comments on the side, or do you want me to read kind of the summation that Josh and I put together?
I think probably the summation.
Start there.
Okay.
Backwards if you have to.
And so if people have questions, then, but. So please proceed, Connie.
All right, so, and payroll items obviously affect both Fund 20 and Fund 21 as we do the 30-70 split. Staffing changes cause the payroll lines to be a little bit off, needs, like health insurance needs, and when we had how many people and as people came and people left, Advertising was up due to trying to replace the vacant positions that came about. And then if at the bottom of the budget status reports, you'll see the notes explaining why the expenses look higher than they actually are.
Just for
So-
these-
Water
Yeah.
and sewer is handled differently than the general accounting. So you'll notice in the middle where the actuals would be, you see a lot of zeros. And that's because at the end of the fiscal year, I need to move those up to liability lines, which show how much is left on the loan. So that it definitely skews those numbers. Also, within both Fund 20 and Fund 21, the meters were put in under an unbudgeted line and not into any of the reserve lines that we have. So that throws things off. What I'm thinking of is back when the auditors did the presentation, I know there was concern over the reserve balances. And part of what caused that big negative number, if Duncan, if you can go all the way to the bottom of the budget status report of Fund 21.
Oh, 21, okay, hold on.
So down here, you're seeing that total wastewater and it's a negative number, which I think is probably close to what was in the audit. And that is a direct result of two things. One of them being the 20-year study that we're doing, because we only contributed 10,000 in this budget, but we went way over. So, and the other part was the stuff that was going on, and I don't know exactly what this equipment is, so Steve can correct me. The dewatering system, I guess we had some equipment and a lot of service charges. That accounted for about 178,000. And then we had the 20-year study in fiscal year 24 accounted for 123,000. Of that 123, we submitted for reimbursement from the Vermont Bond Bank because that's a revolving loan. And the way those work is we collect a bunch of bills, we submit for reimbursement. So over the summer, I submitted all the expenses that we had from fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. And in the fall, we got back $140,000 of that 240 that you're seeing. And we have more expenses since then that we'll also submit for reimbursement. So although that number looked pretty scary in the audit, or it's not really that bad because we're getting a lot of that money back from the loans.
It's really just a timing issue and that's it, as far as reimbursement.
Yeah, we've definitely been struggling with the projects that we've had going through the state that will have revolving loans on because they've had, well, for many reasons, but they've had a shortage of engineers. So it's been more difficult to get our approvals, and we need the approvals before I can even submit for reimbursement. But we're starting to get some movement on that. We're also getting some movement now on the Gateway project, which also impacts the wastewater plant. That had some expenses that went back a few years. We just submitted for reimbursement on that. So that'll bring in some more revenue that we didn't plan on in fiscal year 25.
Okay,
So that wraps up fiscal year 24. Unless
Well,
anyone has questions.
Steve?
You said that the dewatering was what number?
$178,713.
And that's what we laid out for the press parts?
Yeah, all the pieces that factored into that, I saw different explanations in the descriptions, but it was grit cleaning, equipment control planning, panel, more grit cleaning, digester cleaning. and then
Great.
more dewatering service and equipment.
I'm gonna have to look that up. The grit, should not have been under dewatering. The only one that should have been under dewatering was the, digester cleaning.
No, I'm not using the correct terminology, Steve. All these items were under the wastewater capital reserve.
Okay,
So what I did is I looked up all the vendors that contributed expenses to that line
Yeah.
item. And
that's because dewatering is different than the wastewater facility repairs.
all right,
They keep
so
them separate.
so out of the total of the $301,826 that hit that wastewater capital reserve in fiscal year 24, the ones that totaled up to that were bills from PMP, Fournier, City of Winooski, and that's it. The rest of the vendors that hit that wastewater capital reserve line was all Hoyle,
Flood?
which was all 20-year study.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to note that it would be nice if we could have a copy of these without and scratching at the bottom where it's all typed up, because, you know, this is a town document and it's confusing without somebody here to explain it to you.
or I'm sorry, Aaron.
I had a question. Fiscal year goes from July to the end of June.
Yep.
So fiscal year 2024 would have been done in June of 2024. So why are there listed insurance proceeds for the 2024 flood on the, because the flood in 2024 was in July. So that would be
Correct.
25,
Correct.
right? That's
Should
the
be.
fourth thing down on the sewer says 2024 flood. So should that be in a different on the
Should-
next year?
Or should it be, is it supposed
Or
to
was
be?
it a typo and that was from the 2023 flood?
Correct.
But if it's from the 2024 flood, since that happened in July,
It
I
says,
just noticed
You
that.
need to ask.
Yeah, I don't, I'm
it
just
says for
wondering.
Jericho Road, and that happened in 23.
Well, it looked to me like the insurance proceeds said 2024 flood, but maybe it's dropping down from the Jericho Road. But either way,
Oh, wait a minute.
if you go up, Duncan, I can show you. what
Sorry,
it
yeah,
is.
I was wondering if that was the one. This one right here is the July.
Yeah, those all say
23.
23, but if you go to the top,
Okay,
there's a note on the side.
Right,
Keep going.
right there.
Right
Right
there.
there. See, it says 2024 flood. So if that's 2024 flood, it should probably be in the next, because the flood was in July. So that'd be a 25 fiscal year.
Well, I think it.
I have the wrong year. It should be 2023.
Okay.
Because it references Jericho Road, which happened in 23.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bart.
I'm kind of at sea here. I can't really tell what our bottom line is. You know, it gets one's attention when it looks like on the computer font. It shows us in sewer being 240,000 to the negative bottom line. And then I'm having trouble then moving to other things that are done by a calculator. I don't know what to do with it.
Right. Could this document be cleaned up and all the notes at the bottom be incorporated into it so that, as I said, a customer or a member of the town who looks at this would not be similarly at sea, because there's not going to be somebody standing here going, oh, well, you have to read it this way. I don't think town documents that require a human being interpreter are properly put together.
So I can eliminate all the notes, but you're going to have a very inaccurate number.
Well, why
Because-
can't those notes be rolled into the document is what I'm asking. If they're part of this, if they're part of the numbers, why are they not all in the computerized notes? Why are they tacked on at the end?
And this almost from doing like budgets and
Yeah.
using accounting software with the farm. This could be a limit of our software, but is there a way to maybe, I think what you're asking, to maybe type it up and make it more clear?
Yeah.
If it is a limitation of the software, what can we do to make it more clear?
That's a good
Because
point, yeah. It's not.
even a paragraph of explaining would be helpful. Because it just, we need some, if you're not going to be able to ask a
Well,
question.
Plus some of the numbers you can't even read.
Right.
That's right. This is, I mean, if
So-
Bart and I, who've looked at these for years, are confused.
Right.
How is the average person gonna look at this?
And I guess I was saying it's not like an attack on how you're doing it, Connie, because it could be a limit with
As you
the,
say, yeah.
with the software, but how do we just polish that a little?
So what
So,
I'd kind of like to see is if we end with a deficit of 240,000, that maybe there's something that shows, since we don't have a negative number, that presumably we pulled that in from reserve accounts, that you'd show, okay, it's negative based on the year's revenues, but then show what other assets or revenues covered that loss of 240,000. Because if I were looking at this, you know, as a customer, I might be aghast, like, well, wait, you're running a system that lost $240,000 in sewage? That would not be a good place to be.
Right, right. I'll just make one comment here. I think, Connie, this is, maybe it's just the way the software works. We're mixing sort of profit loss with, assets and liabilities just to sort of show the cash flow. And then it's adjusted at some point at the end of the year to reconcile, why you're showing the minus 240. That's sort of a good way to explain that.
so Duncan, can you scroll up just a little bit? So you see these? No, that's good. If you can make it a little bit bigger. I'm interested in the wastewater capital section.
Down below, yeah, right there.
So this is what I'm talking about. You see where we budgeted for $22,220 and our actual is zero.
Right,
The actual really isn't zero. I have to do an end of the year adjustment and we have to take that principal payment out and we move it up to the liability line to reduce the amount of the loan that is paid. Not saying it's a great system. It's makes it very difficult to understand this budget status report. But it's how I'm told it has to be done by the auditors, because at the end, they look at these financials much differently than they look at the general budget that you would see. So then I would be, and I can't change those numbers. So the stuff over on the right is stuff that I didn't insert using PDF. But the report is what prints out of Nemrick, and there's no changing that. So I could take the stuff at the bottom and I could type it rather than putting my tape and my handwritten notes. I certainly can do that if you like that better. So what would happen, say we took that negative 240 and I added all those principal payments back in as expenses, that 240 would grow a lot.
So
Aaron?
when you say you moved that to the liability line, is that where, like, I'm not seeing a liability line and this could be me being dumb, but where did it, I see it being moved on it's down here in this ticker tape.
The
Is
only
this-
thing on
Bottom.
budget status report is revenue and expense. Assets and liabilities and fund balance are all part of a trial balance, but this is the budget status report.
Right, but so it says moved to liability line, but where is that liability line, I guess is what I'm asking. Is that the?
That
ticker tape?
liability is not on the budget status report.
So is it on a different report?
It's on a trial balance.
And where is I'm just asking, where is that? Like, so I can understand where to see it.
Trying to remember if we did
packet?
trial balances as part of the documents.
no, not in ours. Bart?
I'll just say, you know, it's challenging for me because as a member of the commission, I can't tell what our financial status is. And that's not a comfortable place to be.
I agree.
Well, so I'll make one other comment. Maybe this is really not solving the problem here for us. And I'd agree, Connie, just trying to follow this. And I understand, I think we all understand what you're saying is the limitations of the software and what the auditors require for probably publishing for the public, but can you, and I think maybe we've talked about this, move this to an Excel spreadsheet and make that change?
Export it for illustration
Yeah.
purposes, because arguably you could export it into Excel and then do some bottom lines to show how you end up at net
Right.
zero, right?
Is that a lot of work, Connie?
It's certainly more work, but it can be done.
Well, I think just
And
maybe
is it,
talk,
and even if you did it every quarter, I mean, I can sit here and I can tell you, yes, all those principal payments have been moved because it's the fourth quarter. But if we look at the first quarter and the second quarter of fiscal year 25, those loans don't all get paid at the same time. Some of
Right.
them get paid in the fall, some of them get paid. You know, we just paid the phosphorus one a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, I can do it in Excel format, the budget status report, and put those numbers back in. But if somebody was really into accounting and wanted to be looking at the trial balance and look at this fudged budget status report that I do, then they're going to have questions.
Aaron first.
It is my understanding that the Q4 report is essentially cumulative from the whole year. It's not just Q4, right?
Correct.
No, which, what is, but you're like, what you're saying is,
So
go ahead.
maybe when we're talking about like this spreadsheet, if a spreadsheet was added in, maybe that's something we do at the end of the year with all of the cumulative stuff, like it maybe doesn't have to be done each quarter. But at the end of the year, when you do the Q4 one, maybe we need to do something differently so that it's more clear what the overall year looked like, because what you've said about how different payments are at different times, it might make more sense to just do it with the last one. And
Yeah, my sense is at the end of the year is you really need a profit loss, cash flow, and then a balance
Balance
sheet
sheet.
for this to really make sense. But we're really just trying to follow what the sort of I want to say cash flow, but
Yeah. You know, what the programs don't let us do is put in a plain language explanation, really. I mean, more than a few words. I think a narrative or something that refers to count numbers, headings, whatever, just a page, just to tie it together in a way that really any spreadsheet can't quite do.
right.
The English language version, I guess, is what I would be looking for. Literally what we've just been saying in words.
Right.
Yep, go along with it as a cover sheet or an appendix, either way. Since it's not an official piece of the report, maybe as an appendix, just reference or whatever.
Right.
But we have plenty of numbers. But, you know, they're not explaining themselves.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, because of the way Nemrick sets it up, it's not like
Yeah,
jiving either.
yeah, we need to go out on our own, I think, and put it in our language.
I think the average citizen would look at this and say, you have a deficit of $240,000
Mhm.
on revenues of about
Yeah.
$850,000.
Mhm.
That's,
There's a big leak
Scary.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think we need to address that directly in a way that somehow, I don't think we're gonna come up with a solution here today, but I think we need the solution. As one member of the commission, I can't look at this and say, hey, it's fine.
I can't either.
Mhm. That's 3.
Connie, is Nemrick like QuickBooks that you can do a balance sheet and a profit and loss and a cash flow statement? Or can you only do these? Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's.
I can do a balance sheet, I can do a trial balance, but there is no profit and loss
Okay.
or
I
any
know that's
cash
very-
flow.
That's very helpful, like with our businesses, sometimes you have to look at the 3 reports individually,
Right.
but when you put them all together, it's a lot easier to look at
Right.
the
Well, I
information
think
than the way this is.
Part
set
of
up.
it is also that, those lines are moved to the liability line, but that whole document's not included with this.
Yeah.
So you really don't know where it went.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have to
It's
pull it out.
that trial page or
Mhm.
part of the document's not there.
Well, it certainly seems the limitation here is the software, but we've discussed this in the past, I think, and it seems like we're pretty much tied to, is it Numerix?
Never.
So,
One question I had that's a little different from this, but on the top here in our first little thing, the administration expense for sewer. We have the unbudgeted water meter install. Is the 48,000 and change that's listed there, is that the physical meters or the installation costs for the meters?
Where are we?
Right there, that top line. Because it says news center meters, but then it says unbudgeted meter install. And the install seems to me like that would be labor.
Yeah, I believe that's the water share, that's the sewer share. You guys decided to take 50% from water and 50% for the cost of the meters. I think that's the half that came out of sewer to pay for the
Oh,
meters.
because the same
So
number
I
shows
think-
up on the water side.
Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, same number.
Yeah,
I think
it unbudgeted meter install is, it should be meter
purchase.
purchase.
Yes, that's what I was getting.
There you go.
Because
good
the
point.
install
The
is coming
install
from
we
the
are doing
administration.
ourselves.
Yes. Yep, there you go.
And there has been a little cost with it for
Yeah.
things that we've had to buy to install some of the stuff, but
Well, and the unbudgeted makes it sound like you've incurred $48,000
Right.
on two different
Mhm.
sheets of
Yeah.
costs that we just didn't know were gonna happen,
Yeah.
but they were actually a purchased item that
right.
we didn't know was happening.
Good point.
Wouldn't the purchase order say where where it's budgeted to come from?
It should,
yes.
the purchase order should have had a line on it.
Well,
Want me to
so
find it?
I'm not sure.
Purchase order would have had that number on it, the 21,780,000,000.
Right, but it doesn't tell you, it's just the number. It's not gonna tell you the description of the line.
So I'm back to, where's the money come from? I'm really concerned about words like unbudgeted and negative $240,000 when we eyes open said, let's buy the meters and this is how we'll pay for it.
Right,
So
If
that,
you looked at this unbudgeted meter install, it makes like, what are you doing?
just,
right.
Spending $100,000 without figuring out how you're gonna pay for it?
Yes, I agree.
Maybe we should say shared meter installation for that.
Or in purchase, it was
it should be
purchase,
not
an
even
install.
installation, it should be just purchase of
Purchase.
meters.
It's the physical meter.
Well,
it's not-
Wait a minute, though. Steve, doesn't that cover more than just the physical meter? I assume it's involved all the management that Center has done and the software and the training and is that the cost of just the meters or is it the whole
That was
process?
all wrapped into one thing, as the cost of the meters.
So we haven't broken it out. It's just the whole.
I mean, I have it broken out, but
Right.
it was the cost of the meters, the training to install them, the training to run the software and stuff,
Is
all is in that same group.
purchase order,
Yeah,
right? Well, it
it
sounds
was
like,
this much for the meters, this much for the readers, and this much for the training and stuff.
right.
And that was all grouped together for meter costs. It should be, in my eyes, meter costs.
Right.
So I know this is a hassle because it's more time, but I think what the purpose of this is for the commission to say, yeah, I understand what's going on with our revenues, our expenses, our reserve accounts, and we're comfortable with where we are. There is no auga, we can't make payroll in a month. And I've seen organizations hit that auga button in the past. So I don't think we'll solve it tonight, but I think it's gonna take a little more work, especially for the year end, to get to a point where the commission in a public meeting could say, oh, I understand how it's, what our revenues are, what our expenses were, where we took reserves to cover things. And then say, yes, we're on course, we feel good about this. And is there anybody who thinks we could say that tonight?
No.
No. You think, that's right.
It could not be in
We could probably noodle through it, but you're right. You want to be able to present it.
So
So,
I'm gonna recommend that we take it offline and come back to it again with the
Okay.
budget, because if we can't say, oh yeah, we're comfortable with this, and based on what we're presented, it's gonna take a little work between meetings, I think.
okay.
Well, let me rephrase.
I would say
Numbers
that's
are
when you
correct.
go back to your audit.
I think I could explain it to anyone, and I think a lot of people would have trouble understanding the relationship with the numbers. I don't have any doubt that the numbers are correct. There's a lot of faith involved, but the description is lacking.
Right. I'm sorry, Connie, you were saying we go back to the audit?
Well, right, remember, this is the fourth quarter. So this is, the audit represents what the findings were. Municipal accounting is hard enough, and then proprietary municipal accounting is even more confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what we're saying is fine, what the audits have to satisfy some regulation, but we have to satisfy a presentation of the information to the residents of the town here. And so I think right, like Bart said, we won't be able to solve it tonight, but maybe a discussion, not maybe, we'll need to have a discussion. Is there a way of presenting this that's clear?
And I'll add something, I mean, looking at the term asset depreciation, so for a lot of folks, it's a more arcane thing, the asset depreciation versus how are we doing with the money that came in and the money that went out? And how much did we have to draw to reserves? And I appreciate for the auditors and the big picture, especially when you get to the capital management plan, there are things behind this. But if we're like the equivalent of on a ship, we want to make sure we're not about to hit an iceberg. And I can't tell from this if there's an iceberg or not.
Right.
Well, and I also think it's interesting that they're listing your asset depreciation, which is sort of an invisible number, in my understanding, that mostly is used for taxes in a normal business, that we're listing that, and then it's coming off of our capital. It just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Sorry.
So
I know
let's
it's
take
not
offline.
you,
Yeah.
it's the system.
Right, well, again, the
But you know, like
terms
that,
are obscure.
the terms are obscure, and it also, I don't understand why you get to put the imaginary number in NERMIC's thing, but like, I don't get to do that in my QuickBooks
Mhm,
and make it look like I have an
mhm.
invisible.
Right. So, yeah.
And for Connie's part, she has to use these terms.
Right.
That's what's expected, so,
So
you know.
I think-
Right, well, but that's why I was asking
Yeah.
if there was a way to print
We need a
different
plain,
reports.
plain
that-
English.
Yeah.
So let's do two things, because we want to get to rest of Steve's reports here. Let's take this offline. And then there needs to be further discussion of what we're gonna post. That we probably need a deadline on that though, right?
Well, I think you guys want it at least cleaned up a little so you can interpret what is there to keep going forward, right? I mean,
I think so.
to
Right,
start anyway.
I would have to do some thinking about doing this as an Excel spreadsheet and manipulating the numbers,
okay.
Fair enough.
Well, fair
because then
enough.
I could be accused of manipulating the numbers.
Yeah, right.
Well,
And let's,
It's about like, could we run different reports from NERMIC?
so we need to move on here. So, but would you think about that? Please get with Josh next week. And let's try to move this
Yeah,
forward so we
but
get to something that's
Even if you
acceptable.
took what was on the bottom and at least put that in an Excel spreadsheet, and
Yes.
that would much be better than what we're seeing. No?
It doesn't get rid of the minus 240,000.
No, but we're looking for a place to start. Right?
Yes.
At least we would see the numbers in the spreadsheet
Okay.
form.
Well, let's.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that because at the end of the day, I have to be compliant.
Right.
So I
let's-
have to find a way to give it to you guys in a language that you understand without me looking like I'm manipulating numbers. And if I start plugging numbers and it's labeled a budget status report and that is not what's in NEMRIC and that is what the auditors audited, then I'm going to be in trouble.
Right. So let's, if you just make that a higher priority, think about it and get with Josh. Maybe we can bring it up at the next meeting, just where you are with it, just as a topic there. All right, thank you. I don't think we need to go over any of the other quarters of this until.
I
sort
think we
this out.
actually should. You may see it in a different view.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, well, I'll just put this on the record. We won't be able to hit the other things at this point, so.
Well, we can have a meeting next week.
We are.
We already are.
Okay. I
We
like
have one
that.
on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, you can't have one.
Party at Steve's now.
Okay, well, next meeting. All right, so let's move on. We're gonna make this all financial, which is good. So, Q1 2025.
Starting with water.
Sure. Well, it's pretty clean. So vacancy savings.
So fire protection isn't in the revenue yet, but we did just move that. So that'll show up when we do the third quarter financials.
Where's that? What line?
It's the fire service fees.
Oh, okay, right,
The town just paid that last week.
all right.
Again, in the salaries, we had some vacancy savings because we didn't have 4 people at the beginning of the year, and we don't have 4 people now, and the health insurance need changed from what we had budgeted for.
Okay. Big savings. What are VMERS?
That's the retirement system.
Okay.
That's VEMR's, that's our retirement system. That is the town's
The re-
portion and employees pay a portion as well.
Right.
How come there's nothing about the flood in this quarter?
Because this is a budget status report and the flood was not budgeted for.
So then this, it's totally fine. So my question is then, the Q4 one that we're looking at before, it's in there because that's the final for the year and those were things that budgeted or not, we had to pay?
So while we have activity going on through the year, because we want a good system of tracking, we put everything into Fund 42. And then at the end of the fiscal year, the auditors have me move like highways expenses, water's expense. We then move them out of Fund 42 and over into the designated funds such as Fund 20 or 21.
Okay, so kind of, yes, so they end up in the final, but not in the 3 quarters prior. So my other question is, feels a little bit like it could be a surprise at the end in that last quarter. Like, obviously you would know about it because you're seeing all of the funds, but like, I know there had to have been expenses associated with the July flood. Will that skew our numbers drastically when we add them in Q4?
So we will do the same thing with water and sewer when you go through your budget with the whole unassigned fund document that we follow. This money went out, it wasn't budgeted for. This money came in that wasn't budgeted for. We'll run through all that. Josh and I were just talking about it today. So you'll see those numbers when we start working on the budget in March.
Okay.
So let me make sure I understand. So are we saying that there are flood related expenses that do not show up in the budget status report?
Correct. Because I did Fund 20 and Fund 21.
And not, they're in Fund 42 until
Correct.
the end.
So why are we looking at this?
You said it.
Well, Fund 42 doesn't have a budget. I mean, you could see the detail of what's hit those lines, and we have split them out. Whereas before, we used to just put everything related to one FEMA event in one line. We are now putting it in for different departments, for different funds. So at any point, I can certainly grab the detail that is strictly water.
So Morgan, I'm back to where I was in with the previous one. If I can't look at this and see what our actual status is for both revenues and expenses in that period in question, if there are revenues or expenses that are outside of this, then as a member of the commission, I can't say we're on course or not on course.
Right.
It's a sort of rough estimate.
Or-
It's just awkward. I can't have an opinion on our financial status by looking at these budget reports, it seems to me.
All I can do is exhale and think that we need different. I don't know, maybe my kind of think of the question here, is there, not that we need to spend money, is there different accounting software for municipalities that does a better job of reporting?
My understanding is yes, there is, and it's extremely expensive, which is
Like,
why most smaller towns go with New England, with NEMRIC. New
I think
England.
we'd be vaguely interested in knowing how much the alternative is.
Maybe hundreds of thousands.
But I mean, you can't completely price, I mean, if it's made for Baltimore-sized municipalities and not us, okay, it may be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it would at least be nice to know. It may be a too expensive that we're willing to suck it up and pay. So if we could get a price on that, that would be good to know.
Right. Just bring this up with Josh as well.
Yep.
Boy, he took a nice night off.
He did, yeah, maybe he knew something.
Your kid only gets into the bowling finals once every so often.
Oh, you're kidding, I didn't know.
That,
Oh, I
Excellent.
made that up.
Oh,
oh, he did.
I think he was
We
He
know
was going somewhere.
basketball. game,
basketball.
I think.
Thanks.
Anyway,
Hopefully he's not coming back from the Super Bowl.
if you
Well played, though.
if you scroll back up a little bit on this one. Oh, too fast. Back down. Down some more. Where did I miss it? I guess back up. Stop, right? Now go down slowly. A little further. So stop right there. So if you look at I just saw it. No, maybe
What specifically are you looking for?
it's the meter install, what we.
Water line repairs?
No.
It's up at the top.
Is it?
Yep. The install is like,
Oh. No. No,
are you looking at it for 24, 25?
this is 25, isn't it?
Yes.
First quarter?
Yep.
It's not on
Yep,
the 25 in the
Yeah, it
same
is.
spot.
it's not what you're thinking. Right there under meter replacement,
He knows
see where it says meter replacement?
I do.
Yeah.
That is the line where anything that we have to buy, like gaskets for the meters or any parts or pieces, the screws to mount the things to the building, the readers, that's the line that I'm using
Okay.
for that material. It's not replacing the new meters. It's
Installing.
the parts and pieces that we need to buy or to install the meters.
Including the meters?
Yes. No.
No,
We bought the meters in a one-time.
This is just, and I split it 50-50 between sewer and water.
And that paid for all the meters up front.
No, he's talking, yes, that happened in 24. He's talking about
Yeah.
this line is like the little incident.
I hear you, but there's no line for water meter purchase here because they're already purchased.
They're already purchased. Yeah, we're not spending any money on buying meters for this year, but and that's why we're using unassigned funds there. And like for the first quarter, it's like that. I think it's been about 3 to 5 each quarter.
Okay,
But that's way under the 68,000 that we were quoted for installation if we had hired a company to do it.
Yes.
Connie, is it not acceptable practice, for example, under wastewater operation expenses, water usage treatment, to prorate what that would be and put that number in?
To-
Or you just say payment made second quarter, why not then prorate that amount and put it in?
I don't know what line item you're looking at.
I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
following you.
So on the line, it says water usage 32,000.
Where is that?
Under wastewater I'm sorry. I'm
Sup?
sorry. I'm sorry. I was on the wrong financial, I think.
Okay. I think he's talking about Fund 21.
Wastewater Plant does buy water.
Water meter, no, I'm sorry. I was on, we're looking at water here. I was looking at wastewater. I apologize. But are there any other questions on the water one here? There are lots.
Yes, but not that we
We've
need
got
to ask
5 minutes,
tonight.
yeah, 5-minute warning.
Next week.
I mean, it needs to get cleaned up.
Right. Like
And
much bigger.
So just to
Recap.
restate, what I'm looking for is something that shows our financial status that includes revenues and expenses, and where there's a shortfall, how we're making up for it. And where there's savings, that shows savings or spending less than anticipated.
Under budget.
But I'm concerned that apparently there are expenses that don't show up yet. And in that case, you can't tell if we're on track. This commission can't say, yeah, we look good. Do we have to raise rates, lower rates, delay spending? You know, there's no decisions we can make if we can't tell with greater specificity.
I mean, you're looking for a balance sheet.
And this is cumulative, like quarter two is cumulative of quarter one and quarter two, correct? Like when we're looking at the quarter two numbers, these aren't standalone reports. We just happen to get them all at the same time. The
Correct.
numbers for quarter one are in the quarter two report, correct?
Correct.
Yes. That's
Yeah,
right, it
they're
is
like
cumulative.
rolling
That's right, it is cumulative,
Yeah.
right. So, okay.
All right.
To be continued. And we know what we'll be talking about next meeting. So, unless there's any further discussion, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I can give you,
I think we all want to stay right
give
here.
I'll give a quick status update on stuff
Oh, okay.
if you want. I mean, I can keep it real quick.
We have 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes. I didn't know if we were
So
prepared.
the water meter numbers installed is 240 today.
Nice.
We're on the downhill slide of 100. So every day we're trying to do 3, 4. Peeling them off, we're getting further. The portal, I got just today with them, Zenner. They're gonna send us, we already have it in the budget, the initial fee. They need to do that. Then once we pay it, we haven't paid it, but we budgeted for it. It was like 3,500 for the year, one-time fee. And then they'll set us up. We've already had one customer that's tried. She was already, before her meter was installed, she was trying to make sure she was all set. She wanted to look at it, and I had to tell her that she needed to be patient, that it was coming. But so it's out there, people wanting to use it. The water house, we now have our mission system installed. That's been installed for almost a month now. we're, we're running the water system at a little different. We're, um, we're, we think we're gonna go on to off-peak running of the pumps. To
Off-peak?
try to,
Off-peak, like
Off-
off-peak hours?
yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna try to set it up so we pump only during off-peak hours, so we can save some money there. The mission system now allows me to look and know what's happening at the water house at any time. They still need to incorporate some of the other features that we had talked about. And one of them is the mixers up at the tank. Wanted to know if they're running. They haven't done that part yet. But the basic part of it is in and running, and the system really is phenomenal. Gives us a lot of data. It's collecting data, tell runtime, pump times, stuff that we've never had the ability to data mine, and know what's going on. And that's when we got to looking at the fill times for the tank. If we go to off-peak hours, it'll save us a little money, and that's the name of the game.
240,000.
Excuse me?
240,000, hopefully.
Well, I hope. I'm not sure there's that much there, but
But maybe I wasn't paying attention. We'll save money because of at a lower like
Right.
electric rate or.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Off-peak times.
Yeah. And then, the other thing that we're dealing with right now is the dewatering screw. The distribution screw that's above the tractor trailer is worn out. And I've gotten a price from Fournier. I'm not happy with it, so I'm still looking at other options, but right now we're slow enough that we're dealing with the problem. It plugs up
Hmm.
because it's so worn out that it can't take the material away quick enough.
Oh, are there big gaps between the screw and
Any
the
chance?
side?
Well, the
Reduce the
screw is
size.
worn to,
Yeah.
I mean, the screw is 2.5 inches.
Mhm.
It's worn down to less than a half
There's a
inch.
bunch of stuff just sitting there.
It just kind of screws through it.
Mr. Chairman, I know that now we are out of time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Move to adjourn.
all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye, motion pass. Okay, Thank you
for
very
your time,
much.
Connie.
yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Connie.